Claire here and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video we are in Del Sol Valley building a single room mid-century modern home. Now my idea for the sim living in this home was that they were an actress or an actor. I wouldn't necessarily say aspiring. I would think that they've definitely have a couple of movies under their belt, but they're nowhere near an A-lister. And I was thinking that this was the first home that they had bought right after they got out of their crappy apartment. Like, it was their first big paycheck. They wanted to move into the suburbs where all the famous people lived so they could go to parties and they could do all of that, but they couldn't quite reach mansion style. So they decided on this humble house that isn't so humble, and they settled down in the neighborhood right under the hills in hopes that they could still get into some parties. Now, as I said, even though how big this house looks on the outside, I do only get one bedroom in here, and that could be because of how bad I am at floor planning. It could also be because subconsciously I went into this thinking I was going to have one sim, and then when I was building the house it turned out too big, but in my head I was still like, no, it's one sim, it's one sim, it's one sim. So when I was doing the floor planning I couldn't fathom another way to do this without one bedroom. But in the front here, you saw me playing around with some fences. I was trying to build like a little planting box for the front of the house, but I decided I just couldn't get it to work. I initially was just going to extend the patio and then line some plants along there, but in the end I just go with some green shrubs, some well manicured green shrubs I should say, just to give the front of the house just a little bit of color. But right now I'm doing this two-toned piece here with the stone on the outside of the house. So I use a dark gray and a light gray, and I just kind of mix the two together to give the house a little bit more dimension. And I put this column up here. Initially I was going to try and put something on that piece right above the windows on the roof, but I couldn't get anything to fit properly, so I just put a column on the corner there just to give it a little bit more pizzazz. And then moving on back here, I start on the deck. So I start on this one and then I don't finish it until a little bit later. I add this roof, and the door was in the way of where the other column would go, and I didn't want to mess with where that door was placed, so I did decide just to not do a fourth column. Now that really bothers you, obviously you can just add a fourth column, but honestly I didn't even notice until I was doing this video, and then I'm watching it back and I'm like, oh, there's no fourth column there because I put the door there. And I was thinking about it and I was thinking about it and I was like, really? I mean, I already made the video, so it's not like going back in would fix how this video looks anyway, so I decided just to leave it. But as I said, we skip over the back of the porch and come right back to the front because I was still trying to figure out something to put on that roof piece there, but I still couldn't get it to work. So we move on back to the back of the house again, and this is where I add the steps, and I do the same feature that I did on the front porch because I really liked how it looked. And basically I just extended the porch out around the stairs without it having a banister, so that way it kind of looked like the porch was the banister. But going back into the front of the house, I built this little pathway. It's all stone. There's no, it's not like a driveway, but it is just an all stone path. And I do a little bit of landscaping around the front of the house. I start with all green shrubs just because I thought that was, a cleaner look, and it's Del Sol Valley, so there isn't a whole lot of water running around to be able to have all those cute flowering plants. But I do end up adding a couple of plants around that have flowers on them just because the house looked really bare, it didn't have any color on it, and I really didn't like how that looked. I know it fit the whole Del Sol Valley theme and the modern theme, but I still could not handle it. So you see me here already giving up on the whole completely shrubbed house and putting in some flowers here, and then I add them on this other side as well, but then I go back in and add even more flowers because I'm addicted. But I'm moving around and I end up putting a couple of these trees here as well. You can see me pulling them, and I don't know why I switched halfway through. Oh no, yes I do. So the ones that I pulled out first, those two shrubs up at the front, those are debug shrubs, and the ones that I use on the rest of the house are not. You can find them in the regular build and buy menu, and I think I just got really lazy with trying to sort through the debug menu, especially considering that I wasn't going to have a sim living in here, at least not in my game, so I wasn't really that concerned about price. It wasn't a starter home. I wasn't trying to keep it down in price, so I was like, whatever, I can throw a couple of shrubs in here. And then moving on into the interior, so as I said, this house does end up with 1 bedroom. It's 1 bedroom, 2 bathrooms, kitchen, laundry room, and an office area. And going to the front area first, right by the front door, we're going to add just a couple of simple things. Pretty much it's my usual basic front door area stuff. I get the umbrellas and the thermostat. Despite the fact that the temperature never really changes here in Del Sol Valley, I still thought it was kind of necessary, especially for air conditioning here. And then I also add a mirror. I don't put a side table here at the front door, but don't be too proud of me yet because I put it by the back door. I don't know what it is with me and my side tables by doors. I just think it fits, because if you're coming inside and you're just throwing your stuff down, it looks a little bit neater if it's on a table than on the floor. But I start with this rug on the ground here, and then I put one by the back door as well, but I do end up deleting it in favor of a larger rug in the whole space, just because I think it fits better and it keeps the room from having this empty, like large barren empty space just right in the center of it, because I wasn't sure. I was initially going to put the living room in here and then do like a second bedroom on this floor and then have the other one up top, but I didn't think I'd be able to get the living room to fit in here properly with how I placed the windows, and I'd already done almost the entire exterior, so I didn't want to change the windows. So I decided just to put the living room off to the side, and I think it works better with the storyline, because for the acting career you have to host like your co-workers and your directors over, so I figured that they had this really nice living area, and that's why they bought this house, so that way they could entertain their co-workers and their directors and have like a couple of parties here and invite some other A-listers and some other actors and stuff to meet new people and to network basically. But going over here into this corner, I was going to put a couch here, but I thought that it looked just a little too big for this space, so I do end up just putting a couple of I was yawning. I do end up putting just a couple of pictures there, and I'm doing this at like 8:30 at night. That's why I'm yawning, by the way. I don't think my Sims videos are boring, but anyway, I'm going and I just put a couple pictures there and I plant, and then this is where I get the rug. So this is technically a debug object. It's a slice of one of the other rugs that we got with Get Famous. I've never noticed them before. I don't know if it came in with a patch or what, but the last time I tried to pull out this rug, it's like corner pieces. So it's technically ones that like they're rounded edges or they fit in corners. But I really liked how that one looked just in the middle of the room with all the rugged edges and everything. I just thought that it looked super cool. And then going into here, this is the downstairs bathroom. There isn't a whole lot of decorations in here. It is simply just for entertaining purposes, basically. Like their friends would come here when they're outside or when they're throwing parties and everything. And then I placed a couple of decorations on the walls, but I wasn't quite sure exactly what to do, because besides with the Get Famous pack, we don't have a lot of mid-century modern pieces. I mean, the bowling stuff pack works really well with it, but I was having a hard time finding things that worked with the Get Famous pack, and I didn't only want to use the Get Famous pack because I thought that would be a bit repetitive. But then of course, after I made that decision, I decided to do a like base game only plus 1 pack series. So then I was sitting here like I literally could have used this for that series if I had just stuck with the Get Famous pack, but it's okay because I'll have another build for that, maybe even a mansion build. But going into the living room, as I said, this is quite an expansive space. I got a couple of hanging plants here, a little music section for them to have music on in the background, and a nice little seating area also with this Get Famous side shelf. I'm not 100% sure exactly what this thing is called, but I do clutter it up with a couple of different things, some wine bottles and some plants, and then also like a tissue box. I believe you'll see me go through and just cover up the entire thing with a whole bunch of different tissue boxes just to cover all the spaces, so that way when I go in and try and place things freely, it doesn't try and snatch to a place. And then I delete the other tissue boxes, and then I go ahead and go into the kitchen. So for the kitchen, I use the Abode counters because they looked just modern enough to match what I was going for with this build, but not too modern that it would be weird. Like, I definitely think it fit what I was going for. And then I clutter up the counters just a little bit. I honestly figured that they didn't even use this kitchen all that much. My thinking was that they came in here and had breakfast, and then they immediately went on like scouting trips to find new acting jobs, or they went out with friends, or they went into the city to try and meet new people, or had like business meetings or stuff like that. So I definitely thought that this was definitely more of like a show kitchen than like an actual kitchen. And I ended up taking away one of those chairs there because I wasn't sure. I didn't think your sim would be able to sit in it anyway, but I didn't want it to block the door. And then going in here, this is the office, so it is pretty bare, I will say that, but I was having a hard time trying to fill up the space. But I did want to make sure that I had all of the necessary things for the acting career in here. So you have a microphone and a guitar, because you need the microphone for the acting skill, and then the guitar for obviously the guitar skill, but you need the guitar skill for the acting career. And then I exchanged the boxing bag, the punching bag, for a bicycle, because you need the fitness skill for your acting as well. So I figured that the bicycle would help. And then they also end up with a pool in their backyard, so that worked as well. And then over here I end up doing a painting section, so I gave them these pictures from Eco Lifestyle. I figured maybe that was some works in progress they were doing. And then I gave them an art easel, and then we're moving upstairs. So this upstairs is where the bedroom is. So it is a double bed, but honestly, I don't think that you can have two people sit in this bed. So there is a half a tile in between each side, so that should be fine, except for the fact that I put that bookshelf there, which I think will block your sims from being able to get into that side of the bed. So if you plan on doing a lot of risky parties here in this house, I would move the bookshelf. But besides that, one sim can get into that bed perfectly fine. And then over here is a little seating area with some small decorations, and then I get another mirror up here just because it is their bedroom, and a dresser as well to hold all of their stuff. And I almost considered putting a clothing rack up here too, kind of similarly to my photographer's apartment. Like that would be where they kept their nicer clothes to go on scouting trips and stuff, but I decided against it because I wasn't really sure like where to put it. I wasn't sure where the room would be. And then in here is the bathroom. Again, very simple. I do put a couple more decorations in this one though, like I added a robe and a couple more towels. But going on to the outside, I use this outdoor conversational, I believe it's from Get Together. And then I do a little plant corner just to add some color to the outdoors. And then I also end up adding a grill. Now I kind of figured that maybe, I mean, it's Del Sol Valley, so it's always really nice, so I figured that they were outside a lot, but I thought that maybe some of the parties that they did, they were like cookouts, they were a little bit more casual, or if they ever had their family over here to show them their new house, the grill was there so that they could do cookouts with their family. And then over here is where I do the pool. So you see me messing around with some tile. I was going to build a deck, and then I decided not to build a deck, and then towards the end I end up building a deck anyway. So it was kind of just like this long pointless thing where I was going to, and then I didn't, and then I did, and then yeah. So I end up putting these chairs here, and then the chairs just looked so weird just sitting on the grass, and there was all this empty space surrounding it. So that is why I decided to put a deck, because I thought it just looked too empty. But I wasn't sure. I didn't want to add any more plants because I didn't think that really fit the style of the house. So I do just add that, and then I do this plant corner over here, like off to the side, and I add a couple more of these shrubs. And then this is also where I get the garbage cans. But besides that, that is it for this build. So I hope you all enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to leave a like, a comment, and to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all on Friday with my next video. Bye! bye.